And so now I'll move on to the annual plan, and I'm going to sorry, these were always going to be complex motions. I want to what I'll do is I'll move the recommendation. What am I moving in? Help me out.
You are moving your recommendations.
Okay, right.
You're moving that the council receive the information and report, and you're moving...
Okay, so I'm moving that the council receive the report and the attachments, and we adopt the recommendations set out in attachment B.
And pro forma, I'm happy to second that.
And the Deputy Mayor will pro forma second that motion. As I say, I'm just going to make a few comments, and then we'll come back to the individual elements, and I'll invite others to speak as well. As I said in my introductory remarks, I was determined that the rates increase would not exceed the 5.5% that we had established. In so doing, I realised we were going to have to put money on budget for the Port Hills Recovery Plan. That was something that was not anticipated at the time that the original budgets were put together. And as I said in the consultation document, I remain determined that this term we get ourselves on a stable footing as a council so that we become financially resilient to such challenges in the future. In my first term in office, it was floods. In my second term, this time, fire. We have to be better prepared to absorb the impacts of such events. We cannot keep increasing rates. As I also said in the consultation document, part of that whole process will be identifying the true costs of the city's share of the recovery and rebuild. It's important to remember that the cost-sharing agreement was entered into nearly 4 years ago, and it does need to be refreshed so we are clear what we have to build into the LTP and when. With the SCIRT program at an end, we will have an asset management capability well beyond that which existed before the earthquakes. How we integrate those assets into our repairs and renewals program will be critical. I remain worried that people may have elevated expectations of what the SCIRT program was funded to deliver and how much work actually still remains to be done. This will be a major theme next year as we renew our 30-year infrastructure strategy as part of the 2018-2028 LTP. This year's 2017-18 annual plan is focused on delivering the capital program. In the next financial year, the council is planning to invest nearly $500 million in this city. For the first time in recent years, more than half the capital program, $270 million, is already committed to major projects such as the Town Hall, the new Central Library, the Metro Sports Facility, and many other significant community assets. That being said, funding for some of the other projects have been adjusted to ensure that we are spending money only when we need to in the project's timeline, and this allows us to prioritise more pressing repairs and rebuilds in the communities that need them the most. We are committed to maintaining momentum right across the city. As I also said in my introductory remarks, my recommendations are the result of a collaborative effort, and I thank councillors and the individual community boards for their dedication to this effort. I also thank the submitters. It's an important part of the process to engage with our communities, but I can't help believing that we can come up with better ways of engaging more people in the process. The LTP is an opportunity, and I want to start not with the consultation document which comes out next year, but with an information document that sets out what it all means and how people can contribute. My staff came up with a working title, "The Earthquake Ate My Homework." It's not so much the sense of excuse that the earthquake has provided for things not being the way they ought to be, but rather we've forgotten the stuff that's really important. I said yesterday that we need to use our experience as an opportunity. We need to fully understand what this earthquake has cost us as a city. We don't need repeated the rhetoric of $40 billion. We need detailed facts and figures, and we need to know what that's going to mean for the city going forward. So thank you. Can I just invite colleagues around the table if they'd like to make an introductory comment? Vicky? Yanni?
Cool. Thank you. Well, just following on from the point that the Mayor's just made, I would say that our community board began the first of an early conversation with the community about the LTP and a community board plan, and although it was quite hard for people to understand why we were having a discussion about the LTP before we'd even done this year's draft annual plan, I actually explained to the community that actually this was, since I think the original LTP, the first time that council has gone up early to understand what the issues are from the community. And although there was a list of projects up on the board, it was also the opportunity for communities to raise with us anything that they wanted in terms of what we should be doing, both at an operational level and obviously at a capital spend level. So I do want to echo the sentiments that the Mayor has made, that I really look forward to us as a council engaging on the LTP in a way that we've never done before, which is through that early engagement with communities, identifying what the priorities are, because that is the time and the chance, I believe, to really have a good look at everything we do and to look at how we can improve in terms of responding to what the community thinks is important.
Thank you.
Following on
Thank
from
you.
that...
Thank you. We've agreed that it's just a quick...
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can I just conclude then by saying I think one of the features of this draft annual plan has to be around the desire to get back to doing some of the basics well, including things like addressing the maintenance, but also actually giving a commitment to the community on the community facilities, and I think some of the projects around school safety and community enhancement around some of our suburban master planned centres. So I look forward to having that debate as we go through today.
Thank you, Tim.
I'll sacrifice my time.
Glenn?
I'll try and cover 3 points, 20 seconds each in 1 minute. The first is today, I look forward very much, having been with the eastern communities from the word go to this point. I'd like to think that we will seek to balance investment in the city with what our decision making takes us today. That will see that what is good for the east is good for the city. Quickly moving on, next point, I admire our responsiveness over things we haven't planned for, the Port Hills fires. So I admire the kind of the people resource directed towards that, along with our financial adaptability. I think that's been obviously a real key. Thirdly, something I said in during our swearing in time, that if you meet people's needs, you'll be successful. So going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we can provide for our people with their housing, fix their roads, then I think when it comes to those bigger projects over multi-purpose arena, etc., we'll have that support and buy-in. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron? Phil?
Oh, look, I agree with Yanni Johansson that in fact involving the community boards early on, it's been a first, and it's been I think symbolic of a really good consultation process. I certainly understand the Mayor's point about the Port Hills recovery and how really that's an excellent example of planning for risk management, and I think it sets a precedent really for our other projects, for example when it comes to the hot saltwater pools today. So, and there's some neat things I think that we're going to be discussing today. Clearly accessibility for kids swimming, that's major for me, but also what's important too when we come to discussion of city care as a strategic asset, how important that was to Christchurch people, and I guess in a way today is a marker in terms of our whole recovery and regeneration. We've made huge progress, certainly since I've been on council, but clearly we have still a long way to go. But today will also, I'm sure, will achieve further progress.
Dion?
Thank you for the opportunity. Going out with all the communities in the Central Ward to deliver this draft annual plan, I realised quickly that it wasn't my plan, and there was a lot of things that I couldn't actually do because it was already embedded in the last long-term plan. So in saying that, I'm actually really excited to get through this and actually start looking at that long-term plan, because that's where I can actually start having a bit more of my flavour into some of the conversations that we've been having and looking after the central city and the communities around it. Because I think from the conversations that I have had is a lot of them haven't felt like they've been involved. So some of the stuff that has a flavour in this annual plan stuff that I'm really been focusing on is the homeless issue, the CBD stuff, the transport areas, suburbs, and really proud that we're going to hopefully get some action on Linwood Village and actually start giving that community some of the well-needed attention that it deserves.
Pauline.
Thank you. Look, yes, a rates increase of less than 5.5 would be preferable, but we've got huge challenges with our continued repairs. Even though we're in recovery and regeneration, we've still got a lot of work to do, as the Mayor's referred to, especially around our roading and our Three Waters infrastructure, and now, of course, the Port Hills fire thrown in there at a huge cost. So that we've got the Land Drainage Recovery Program, which is still one of our major projects and essential to restore the flood levels to pre-quake levels at least. And that's at a massive financial cost. So along with these essential capital works, we're also aware and we agree that our community facilities are essential to restoring our strong communities. I really support enabling proactive community groups with viable initiatives and encourage trusts to own and manage where appropriate, because this encourages use. It means the facilities are valued and protected by the community, and they're fit for purpose. They're what people want. And Council will walk alongside to assist and enable for better outcomes. So I want to thank everybody for engaging this year as they've done, and also to acknowledge the staff for the incredible level of work they've put into this. Cheers.
Mike. Sarah?
Thank you. We are, as we heard last night at the City Leaders Forum, a city of taglines. We are a garden city, a resilient city, a child and youth friendly city, a quake city, and now a city of opportunity. A city of opportunity for all. But these are just middle-class pipe dreams if we don't bring everyone with us. As we repair and rebuild and regenerate our city, we need to make sure that we haven't forgot those who had nothing to start with. Those who are hit hard by the quakes need to rebuild their homes, and we need to rebuild their facilities. But let's not forget those who had nothing to start with, those who have been hard hit by life. This is our opportunity to make sure that those people are not forgotten. We know that a more equal city is a happier city, a more prosperous city, and so business as usual is still not enough. I'm looking forward to this annual plan, I'm looking forward to the long-term plan, but let's make sure that we don't forget those who never had anything.
Jamie?
No, thanks for being said.
Anne?
Thank you. I'd like to endorse what Sarah's just said. This is my first annual plan process, and it's been really enjoyable to see the way that the community has engaged, bringing submissions to the council, and particularly for those young people who have taken the time and the energy to come in, and often requiring quite a bit of courage. I'd like to see us reward that, because one of our part of our strategic framework is to have strong communities with active participation in civic life. So I'm very hopeful that through our annual plan we can actually see that being developed in our communities. So look forward to seeing those initiatives that will strengthen our communities and encourage civic participation. Thank you.
David?
Thank you. I'd just like to endorse the Mayor's comments earlier on about the level of rate rise and our absolute determination to keep it below 5.5 and going forward to drive that down even further in years to come. I'd like to acknowledge the large amount of work that has been done on the annual plan this year, both from a staff point of view and collectively around the table, in coming to what I believe is a very good annual plan this year. I think the process that we have engaged this year with the annual plan has been a lot better than in previous years, and we have seen significant involvement with our community boards and the community in preparing this annual plan. For me, it's been particularly satisfying that once again my ward has produced by far and away the most number of submissions to the annual plan, and I think today is a landmark day for the eastern suburbs, with items that are due to pass through this annual plan today. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Okay, yes.
This year annual plan is the third year of long-term plan 2015 to 2025, particular third year long-term plan 2017 and 18. But normally the annual plan, in the annual basis, we just review whether there's any big difference between the annual plan and the long-term plan, that kind of, but this year a little bit of difference, because while, like Mayor, you mentioned earlier, because we have kind of Port Hills, the recovery, that's urgent needs, nature disaster, so that's reasonable. We need to have mitigate this kind of effect. Another one is I'm quite happy, the land drainage facility and also the cycleway facility still continue ongoing. Actually, there's a positive transport mode, give people more choice, rather than just rely on traditional the park, etc. Another one is later on we probably still need to discuss this issue regarding to the schools, the speed limit zone, whether we increase from 3 to 6 or 3 to 9. I think this probably is urgent need we need to consider, because the kids crossing, there's a safety issue. We have to take this issue more highest priority, more serious. This my view. But this year is also regeneration. Okay, that's it. Okay, about 1 minute.
Thank you. Rev.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. I'm just really pleased to see that we've finally got the hot salt water pools ready for approval. The people of New Bryden have been waiting a very long time since the earthquake for their legacy project, and I'm really thrilled that finally we've done the work and that we're able to approve that today. So that's really thrilling.
Andrew.
Thank you. I'm pleased to see recommendations in front of us today that reflect the submissions that we've heard from the community, and that also reflect quality engagement at an early stage at the community board level as well. I certainly was part of some very good quality conversations very early in the piece of developing the final version of this annual plan. I'm pleased to see rates increases kept within the 5.5%, and certainly keen to signal that we would hope to see rates increases decrease over the period of the long-term plan. Of course, we continue to have a large capital programme as the city is in recovery and regeneration. Particularly pleased, though, to see as part of this annual plan continued investment in community facilities, suburban aquatic facilities, parks and reserves, and in particular to see the biodiversity fund that we're going to be talking about very shortly, and recognising the works of the reserve management committees on the peninsula, which are a great example of community partnership.
Right, so probably the easiest thing for me to do is to just put the motion, the first motion, which is that the report and the attachments be received. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. I think I also have to move a motion to suspend standing orders. Would I do that now or do the biodiversity fund?
If you wish to do that, you can do that now.
Okay. So I'll move that we suspend standing orders 18.1, 18.8 and 18.9. Do I have a seconder? Andrew. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And now I'm just sorry to get you to vacate the chair, because I hadn't talked about doing it in this order, but I just wanted to sort of kind of lay the groundwork for the annual plan. The biodiversity fund is going to be considered as part of the annual plan. It was referred to from ITI to the council, but we've brought it forward to today so it can be included as we sit. So if the staff who are advising on the